I would say the key challenges for the organisation, and sadly we're not alone in this field, is the funding.
Applying for funding.
Securing funding.
Funding. The challenge is funding.
We could do so much more with more funding.
My name is Jason Henderson. I am a Policy and Public Affairs Officer with SCVO, and I lead on our fair funding work, through which we have been consistently calling for a package of asks and principles that would deliver fair, sustainable, flexible and accessible funding to the voluntary sector. The intention of this work is to show the day-to-day reality of organisations working on the front lines in a whole host of areas, from eradicating child poverty to tackling the climate emergency, from health and social care to equalities and protecting human rights, and everything in between. It's about amplifying the voices of those carrying out incredible work in our communities, but also highlighting the barriers that they are facing when doing so.
There's a lack of thought to the third sector and where its funding's coming from and what funding issues might happen.
When you are starting the organisation, you have another challenge, which is applying for funding. There is a big competition.
How can we think strategically long term to be around as an organisation so that we can make sure that these projects we're delivering for 20 years' time are still there having an impact?
That fair funding work has led to some solid progress over the last few years, both inside and outside Parliament. Perhaps the most important of that has been a commitment from the Scottish Government to fairer funding. And although it doesn't quite go as far as it needs to, it is a positive first step. And away from Parliament, we have managed to build great support for our fair funding calls across the voluntary sector in Scotland.
I think we're beginning to see some discussion around more unrestricted grant funding, and also, an understanding that multi-year unrestricted funding really is the thing that so many organisations need.
So we want to take the conversation that we're having about fair funding and move it forward. The voluntary sector is not some homogenous blob. Across the sector, there are organisations doing fantastic work in every priority area, every field of expertise, and every sector across Scotland. And we want to amplify the work that they're doing, but also highlight the issues and barriers in funding that are impeding the work that those organisations are doing, while at the same time identifying any good practice that we can.
The majority of our funding comes from one source. If that was to lessen or that was to change, it's the service that takes the hit.
We spend a lot of time worrying about or strategising for reductions of funding and looking for other sources of funding, which really takes up a lot of time that could really be spent on our core function.
For decision makers and grant makers, we don't just want you to understand the impact that the voluntary sector has in all these areas of work. We want you to also understand that the crucial work that they do is being hindered by a funding landscape that is currently unfair and unsustainable, and to take into account the improvements that could be made to ensure a flourishing and secure voluntary sector in Scotland.
Staff, because of that fixed term nature, will then inevitably look at what's next and where do I go, if there's not firm communication in terms of funding, and sometimes it is left to the very last minute.
Recruitment is a real challenge when you don't have multi-year funding. I mean, by the time you've advertised, interviewed, got someone in place, you're basically offering them maximum a 6-month contract. And how can you recruit with that?
For those across the voluntary sector, we want you to continue to support the fair funding calls. We have made progress, but there is so much more still to be done. The fairer funding commitment by the Scottish Government needs to replicate what we've set out in our fair funding calls, and that can only be achieved with the ongoing support of the voluntary sector in Scotland.
You should be able to prove that what you want the money for is really something the funders should be giving you the money for. But on the other hand, it takes a huge load of time and effort that takes us away from actually getting on with doing all the things that we would like to be getting on with.
And for any organisations who read the contents and believe that they are not represented, please let us know. The list of areas that the voluntary sector contributes to is endless, but we want to continue building this resource and adding and amplifying the voices of those across the sector. So if you want to help us do so in your area of work, please get in touch.
A year just goes by so quickly. We do need 3 years funding, at least. 10 would be better.
What we know is that regardless of the area of work, Scotland needs a secure and sustainable voluntary sector. But Scotland can only have a secure and sustainable voluntary sector if the sector itself has secure and sustainable funding, and that funding is fair funding.